same purpose. We're being hunted. What?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2010 sequel Predators. The film is directed by Nimrod Antal and it stars Adrian Brody, Lawrence Fishburne, Topher Grace, Alice Braga, Walton Goggins, Oleg Takratov, Danny Trejo, Louis Ozana, Masha Ali, and Derek Mears. Right, this is the third entry in the Predator franchise, if you don't count the Aliens versus Predator films anyway. This time round, we meet a group of soldiers stroke mercenaries who have been dropped on an alien planet. They don't realise that initially. They just fall out of the sky and end up landing on this strange jungle planet. And they realise fairly quickly that they are being stalked and hunted by something using them as big game, really. And the more they learn about this planet and environment, the more they'll learn that they are in deadly danger and they must use all of their skills to try and survive. Right, what are my thoughts on Predators? Well, I think, much like Predator 2, I think this film gets somewhat overlooked, certainly in my opinion. But when you actually, rewatch this film, it is a very, very good film. Very enjoyable. It is. It takes kind of the things that worked in the first one and arguably the second one, and injects them here into this one. You've got the jungle setting. You've got a group of soldiers stroke mercenaries and very, very dangerous people being hunted by not just one predator but several. Now it's an exciting prospect. I remember when this was kind of being teased and we knew it was kind of coming, and number one, I was excited because Robert Rodriguez was involved, and I love, generally speaking, his films, Dusk Till Dawn, that kind of stuff. He's just very, very talented, and Sin City and what have you. So I was really excited to have him involved, even though he wasn't directing. And then knowing it was based on a script that he presented to the studio back in 1994, but they basically turned it down at that point because they thought the budget would be too high, but only returning to it like for this film, even though the script was kind of amended for this film. So there was a lot of things to get excited about. You had Alien, then Aliens, and then we had Predator, Predator 2, and then Predators. It was like you kind of knew what was coming, but it was exciting nonetheless. Now, obviously, there was a tinge of disappointment from my perspective that there was no Arnold again in this one, no Arnie appearing, even though early drafts had Dutch and Danny Glover's character from Predator 2 returning. Imagine how cool that would have been, for these, soldiers and mercenaries getting dropped on this planet and then discovering that Dutch and Danny Glover's character was already on the planet and they'd been there for a number of seasons. That's fantastic. Potentially one of them could have been the Lawrence Fishburne character in some way, shape or form. But obviously that didn't happen for whatever reasons. But, it would have been awesome. And then you look at this cast here that we've got. If all these people were cast in a movie today together, people would be in like a fever pitch of excitement. Your Walton Goggins and, Danny Trejo, Adrian Brody. The list just goes on and on and on of all these fantastic, actors, stroke character actors, that get bundled together in this film in 2010. It doesn't necessarily have, the cultural impact that it had then, but now when you look back at it, you're kind of thinking, wow, what a cast we've got here in this film, and they all do really, really well. Now, I do remember as well when Adrian Brody was cast in the lead role here, there was disappointment, I suppose. And I think that's probably an understatement. I mean, Adrian Brody was known mainly at the time for like dramatic roles, serious roles, and there was a lot of doubt out there that he could pull off, a leading man role in a Predator film. But we needn't have worried, really. I think he's actually excellent here, Adrian Brody. He's a brilliant actor, as we know, but also he pulls off the tough guy really brilliantly in this film, in actual fact. And he put on quite a lot of muscle to play this part. He really committed to the role. And it worked. It really did work for him. Initially, at the start of the film, he is kind of reprehensible in a lot of ways. By the end of the film, the journey that his character goes on, he kind of has a redemption arc. And I liked that about his character, and the fact that he just took no shit, really, from anybody, even the predators. So he was a believable, tough guy leading man in this film, and I thought that worked. But they all were. They were really good. Everybody in this film had their moment. Apart from, you could argue, Danny Trejo, who was the first to kind of go in this film, and he wasn't really given much to do in this film or to shine. But his death scene was pretty creepy. The whole idea of him, in the middle of the field, kind of luring them in. And that scene when they decide to leave him, and then Alice Braga's character takes him out with a sniper rifle to end his suffering. Or so she thought, but she didn't know he was already dead, because as soon as she walks off, you get the Predator mimicking his voice again, which was really creepy. I remember that creeping me out big time. We've obviously got the soundtrack here that is samples quite a lot of the soundtrack from the original Predator, which was nice. It really did suit the theme, like the jungle and all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciated that. We got to see the original Predator from the classic looking Predator from the first film. He's the one that's tied up on like the totem sort of thing. And to see him, they release him and he, goes after, this, well, what do you call this predator? I know he has got a name, but, he was almost like a feral predator as far as I was concerned. And you get that really cool battle between them two, and it would have been nice, I think, for it to go on a little bit longer, and maybe for the classic Predator to get a few more hits in there. But it was a cool idea, the fact that Adrian Brody's character releasing this Predator from captivity to try and recruit it to help him. Very, really cool idea. So there's a lot of good set pieces here as well. The action is absolutely spot on. The design of the Predators is absolutely fantastic. The effects are on point. It's a very, very good and solid Predator film. And again, I think it's... I don't know. I think it's not valued as highly as it should be, this one. I think this is better than Predator 2. I think if they'd have made this as the sequel to the first Predator, it might be seen as a bit of a copy and paste. But there's obviously been quite enough time between the first one and this one for it to kind of feel like it's got its own identity at the same time. So I really, really like this as a Predator sequel. I think it works really, really well. I like the cast. I like the direction. With Robert Rodriguez on board, it kind of kept it focused. And the director, even though I don't know much about him and I couldn't really tell you anything else he's directed, I think he does a fine job here with the direction. And it's an action-packed Predator sequel. With some memorable moments in it, some memorable scenes, some memorable predators, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. Big fan of this one, I'm not going to lie. It's actually been a few years since I've seen this, and I really, really enjoyed revisiting it. I really enjoyed rewatching it. I was buzzing watching it. I just thought it was such a great watch, and I really enjoyed it. And I remember when I went to see it at the cinema, I remember I was buzzing watching it at the time, and I also remember being really disappointed that it didn't do better at the time. And then sometimes you watch a film and you kind of think, how come somebody else watching that doesn't see what I see? How come, word of mouth and all this kind of stuff hasn't got people charging into the cinemas? It's happened a few times with movies, but this is definitely one where I had that feeling. So yeah, great Predator sequel. That's it for the Predator sequels. I've done pretty much all of them now. First Predator, second this. I've done Aliens vs Predator. I've done Aliens vs Predator Requiem. I reviewed The Predator. I think I have on the channel. I'm sure I have. I'll check. And then obviously everything else as well. So that's the Predator series covered for the most part. Looking forward to what's next. Let me know your thoughts on Predators, the Predator franchise in general. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.